Hello, my name's Eric and this is my Teaching Philosophies video. I recently reread my philosophy of education that I wrote at the beginning of this master's degree experience, and at that time I felt that I was mostly essentialist or progressivist, and I don't think a lot has changed, although at that time I was working in severe special education in the post-high, and my essay at that time was mostly progressive, and that was mostly what we did was progressivism. What we did was relevant to their daily lives on a very functional basis. It was determined with their families and themselves to be things that were relevant to their lives. It was experience based. We were having experiences like cooking and working at job sites and socializing to practice our social skills. After doing my student teaching with grade schoolers, I found that more of what we do there is essentialist. We focus a lot on basic core knowledge. We teach these students to read, write, and to work with numbers. We also provide behavioral expectations that fit the moral values side of essentialism. So I would say that in making this change, I've become more essentialist and less progressivist, although I still feel that progressivism has a place and we still have done experience-based learning in the resource at the grade school. As far as technology, I would just like to share things that I've had experience using. We have keyboarding devices that aren't quite computers, but they are made just for keyboarding. We use these with students who have fine motor disabilities, and it helps them to be able to type on their tests instead of write, which would take a lot more time. I've used pens that scan printed text and turn it into language with students who are very sharp but not able to read because of dyslexia, and that have the comprehension once something is read to them. I've also used speech to text and text to speech along with learning apps like Imagine Learning and FastMath, which are great because they monitor progress for you and tell you when to intervene, and they're standards based. I Lori in the resource has iPads that are chock full of learning apps, and I've used some of those other learning apps as well. So I would just like to continue to use these technologies and others. I've also used Proloquo to Go for speech disordered students. As far as promoting compassion, I think that a service learning activity would be great. I also think that compassion and respect are related, and I would like to have a class rule about respecting others, and the rules get taught as the course goes on, so they would be held to that standard, and they would be taught and helped to overcome that any disrespect that they might see, that I might see in my class. As far as promoting human flourishing, I think just by giving these students the support and the accommodations and the modifications that they need will promote their well-being, because it will help them in their lives in the future, and it will help teach them how to be successful and teach them work skills and how to adapt to their disabilities. As far as behaving legally and ethically, I would just model that by behaving legally and ethically in my own practice. And I would also try to instill that in my students by having rules and by teaching and enforcing behavior expectations. Thanks.